I have an announcement. An audio version of the After Dark podcast can now be found on podcasting apps. Not all of them have been approved so far. Some of the apps take longer to do this than others. But I can say, go search for it. If it's there, subscribe. If it's not there, try again in a few days, a week. It'll definitely be there. They're all uploading now. Oh my god, I can't believe we've done it. Thanks for all your support. Recently, there's been a few press releases from Netflix talking about new TV shows and films that are coming to the platform. Some soon, some further in the distance. In this video, I'm going to look at some of them. The first one I'll look at is 1899. It's going to be made by the Dark creators, Baran bo Odar and Jon Fries. And I know a load of you are excited about this too, considering how well my last news video did. As well as this, I'm going to be looking at the new German show coming on the 20th of August, Biohackers. I'm going to be looking at a new Korean show, which is called Hellbound. I'll also be discussing the new Witcher spin-off that's been announced. And lastly, I'm going to take a look at a feature film that's been announced coming to Netflix, starring Millie Bobby Brown of Stranger Things. Before I get into the news, can you make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more TV and film analysis from me, Anthony James? I upload a new video every Thursday. That could be anything from a dark theory to a review of a TV show or a film that I've seen. Or it could even be a news show where I talk about new things coming up, just like this one. On a Monday, I've got a podcast with my friend Konrad, in which we go through Dark one episode at a time. He's never seen it before, so we get to hear all his thoughts, his feelings, and also his theories. He's already got some stuff right, he's got a lot wrong. Come and check it out, it's really good fun. Alright, with that being said, let's get into the news. As I previously stated in my last news video, 1899 is going to be a German Netflix show made by Baran bo Odar and Jon Fries, the creators of Dark, and it's going to center around an immigrant ship going from London to New York. It's going to carry with it a load of different European migrants from different countries, different cultures, and they're all going to be a mixture, melting pot on this boat. As they're going over the ocean, they're going to encounter another migrant ship, and stuff's going to happen. What sort of stuff? We're not quite sure yet, but if there's anything we can be sure of, we're going to have some crazy, supernaturally, sciencey hijinks, knowing these creators. So, since my first video on 1899, there's been a few developments. The first thing is, Baran bo Odar posted on his Instagram account the cover page for the first episode, and it's going to be called The Ship. It also confirms that the writing credit is going to go to Jon Fries, just like in Dark. So even though they both work on it together, Jon Fries gets the writing credit and he directs, Baran bo Odar directs, which, that's just going to be much of the same. But it's really cool to have the name of the first episode, The Ship. It immediately conjures up the images that I had in the previous news video of we're spending time as the ship is deporting. So they're all maybe getting to the ship. They're seeing the ship for the first time, the characters. We're sort of getting the real feel of what this ship's going to be. So I really think that first episode is going to be at the dock in London. Maybe even a little bit of sailing as well. I think it's going to have a similar feeling to the start of Titanic. Actually, it might not. Maybe it's a dreary atmosphere. Maybe they all can't wait to get away from London. But I think there might be sort of a celebratory air or an air of looking forward to the future. So I'm going to reiterate until I'm proven wrong. I think it might be quite a warm start to this show, which is in stark contrast to Dark. Alright, what else have we found out? Well, there's a really cool photo that's been released on Baran bo Odar's Instagram, and it is of Jon Fries and the writer's room. So for anyone unfamiliar with the process, basically Jon Fries writes the treatments for the scripts, so she knows what the story for each episode's going to be, where the beats are and things. But then the writer's room, when she goes in there, they flesh out all the little details, and they actually do the dialogue, and they all work together. Then they'll go off and they'll write their separate things. But at the end, she'll then go over all the scripts again, and she has the final say. That's why she's credited as the writer. No one else is credited as the writer, even though they all helped out. Is that it was her ideas at the start, and then she actually revises them and finalizes the scripts at the end. So basically, there could be huge changes in the writer's room. There could be big changes to the story, but at the end of the day, it is going to be Jon Fries' say. But the fact that there could be big changes and the fact they're talking about the story points leads me on to a few interesting things in this photograph. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that Jon Fries is holding up a piece of paper, and we can see a good shot of the piece of paper in the lady closest to us's view. She actually has a paper with a boat on it. Now, this is really interesting to me because it's clearly like a map of the boat, and there's a load of labels and diagrams. Maybe there are different parts of the story happen in different parts of the boat. Maybe parts of the boat do different things. Maybe they have like supernatural aspects to different parts of the boat. I'm not sure. In any case, the fact that they're looking at a map of a boat while writing the show makes you realize this show is going to be as detail-driven as Dark was. I love it. Next up, let me draw your attention to the whiteboard. So on the whiteboard, there's a few things. First thing I'm going to do is enhance that image. Let's have a look at the boat on the right here. So clearly this is a map of the boat. They've circled a particular part. Maybe that's the part that they're working on now. The characters are in that part of the boat. Interestingly, they've marked how long the boat is. Now, I can't quite make out how long that is. 280 meters, 180 meters, 120. I don't know how long it is. But the fact that they want to know the length of the boat makes me think a few things. One, it matters to them how long it takes to get from one end of the boat to the other. So maybe when they're writing scenes and characters are traveling through the boat, they need to know how long the character can be walking for. You know, you don't want to have so much dialogue, 3 minutes of dialogue, if it only takes 2 minutes to walk up the boat in the scene. So maybe it's just a technicality like that. But when you take it together with the picture next to it, the picture in the middle, the big circles like a target, that actually speaks to me of maybe it actually is something to do with like a Bermuda Triangle, like someone said in the comments on my last video, or something to do with some sort of whirlpool or some sort of area that the closer you get to the center, weirder things happen. And maybe the length of the boat actually matters because part of the boat will be in a smaller circle or closer to the center. So maybe there'll be different effects, like supernatural or physical or some sort of effects on different parts of the boat at different times. This is completely out of nowhere at the minute, but it's just what I'm thinking about because I'm seeing this picture on the screen. On the left there, I think we get a little layout of a room. Maybe that's just them talking about where characters could be moving around in the room, what's in the room for them to be talking about. I don't know what that would be. I don't really understand why they would block a scene, like thinking about where the actors are going at this point, but it all seems to be laying things out so that the dialogue or the timings of the show is consistent. The big thing in the middle, though, that is really making me think some sort of supernatural occurrence is going on in some way. Again, I could also be going down the complete wrong path. Maybe that's after a boat crash, because the person in the middle actually does look a little bit like someone clinging onto a bit of debris, you know, like at the end of Titanic where they're on the door. The person, the little picture in the middle looks a little bit like that. So maybe it's sort of distances out from where the ship went down so that then they know how far boats have to travel to get there. It could all be distance related. I'm not quite sure. The little symbols or the numbers or whatever is at the bottom of the circle, I'd really like to know what they are. I'm going to really try and think hard about what they are. I can't quite make them out at the minute. My initial idea that it's arrows pointing either way, so maybe one is west, one is east, and the little symbols in the middle are like America this way, Europe this way. Not sure. That's the best I've got at the minute. Okay, next thing. Up in the top left corner, we have a piece of paper which looks like it has lots of pictures of people in rows. My initial guess, and I think I'm right about this, it's so small though I could be wrong, I think this is the families of the migrants. So that's keeping track of who's connected to who. It could also just be groupings of people from the same country. So all of the Germans together, all of the British people together, all the Irish together, that sort of way. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Now, it's worth bearing in mind, it doesn't mean that this show's going to have as much of a focus on family and stuff like Dark did, although I think it probably will because it's about migrants and like the groupings and how people are different, how people are the same. So I think it probably will. It's also worth remembering that this is actually like day 2 of the writer's room, I think. So at this point, they're really just trying to get the story into the writer's head. So they're really going through all the minutiae and all the details. So what we're seeing here actually might not be that important. It's just a step in explaining everything to the writers. Having said that, it's all we've got. So you're damn right I'm going to start theorizing about it. Underneath that chart of families or whatever it is, we also have an actual bar chart. I don't know what this could be. Maybe tracking supplies on the ship, tracking fuel on the ship. It could also maybe be tracking how many people of each nationality there is, if we're talking about groupings of people. So maybe it's this many English, this many German, who knows. What do you think? Put it in the comments. What do you think this bar chart is representing? Bit of a mystery. My best guess would be nationalities, and then maybe the 2 different colors on the bar are male and female, possibly. Before we leave this writer's room photograph, it's worth noting that there's actually been some news released that there's different writers from all over Europe, actually all over the world in the writer's room. So there's a writer from Denmark, there's a writer from France, there's a writer from the UK, There's a writer from, actually 2 from the UK. There's a writer from Spain. There's a writer from the USA. So this is really cool because it actually mirrors the ship. So on the ship, you can imagine all these nationalities being there, even the USA, because maybe someone's traveled to the UK and now they're traveling back. So it's all sort of mirroring. It's to get all the different perspectives of people from those countries into the show. I think it's a great, great choice by Jon Fries to do this. So 2 things I'm going to mention before we leave this photograph. The first is, how thick are those books? So they're working through the maps of the boat and all these designs. How thick are they? This show's going to have so much detail. I can't wait. The second thing, did anyone else notice it on the wall? Yeah. It's the 2 worlds either side merging into one with Adam and Eve blowing them. You know, just like from Dark. Remember? Yeah. Well, that's really cool because if you think about this show, now I know this is just over analysis maybe, but think about this show. On one side you've got Europe, on the other side you've got America, and in the middle you've got the boat in the middle of the ocean. What? Okay, last bit of 1899 news. The fan Twitter account 1899 Netflix actually shared a message from one of the members of the crew from Dark, and it says, "Looking very much forward to joining you on this journey." So, and they point out, rightfully, this means that actually maybe some of a lot of the behind the camera crew are going to come back to work on 1899 from Dark, which is great because Dark had a really good feeling on set. All the actors, all the crew, all the directors say they're going to miss working on it. It was one of the best experiences of their life. So if that same atmosphere can be brought to the 1899 set, it's only going to bring good things. So that's fantastic. Okay, I'll do my best to keep you up to date with any more news comes out. But for now, let's move on to some other stuff. All right, the next one I'm going to look at is the new German show, Biohackers. It's being created by Christian Ditter, who is known for How to Be Single, Love Rosie, and The Crocodiles, to name a few. According to a Netflix press release, it's a 6-part original series, and it's going to be a fast-paced and gripping science thriller about friendship, love, and revenge. And there's also going to be, in the show, revolutionary biohacking. Now this made me think, what on earth is biohacking? So I did what any normal person does, and I googled it. So apparently it's a really wide range of things. It goes from anywhere from like fasting, like intermittent fasting, all the way up to injecting yourself with CRISPR DNA to change your biology. I'm pretty sure based on the press releases and the trailer that's out, this show's going to be about more like the latter. Like they're actually changing their biology rather than just like it's a diet or fasting. It's going to be actually altering them in some way. And if the trailer's anything to go by, it actually seems like there might be a lot of mystery in this show. So I'd highly recommend going and watching the trailer. I'll link it in the description. And you can go and get hyped as well. I don't know why I'm so hyped for this show. It doesn't seem like it's going to be like a top-notch, dark-esque show. But it seems like it'll be good fun. It seems like it'll be a good watch. Maybe the fact that it's German too, I'm sort of still feeling a bit of that dark buzz around me, so maybe that's affecting my hype for this show. But I'll definitely do a review of it when I watch it, and let me know what you think of it too when you see it as well. Are you excited for it? If you are, we don't have to wait long. It's coming out on the 20th of August, so really soon. And I just wanted to include it in this video because I'm sure a lot of people who watch my videos because of Dark would be interested in it, so check it out. The next show I'm going to look at is a Korean original called Hellbound, made for Netflix. Now, I've never actually seen a Korean TV show. I did see Parasite, which I absolutely loved, so maybe Netflix is commissioning this off the back of the success of that. In any case, I thought I'd bring it to your attention, as it seems Netflix is really trying in the last few years to boost international shows, and if that's something you're interested in, then I'm sure you'll like to check this out. So the press release that was actually put out by Netflix was about the casting of the show. Now, unfortunately, I don't know many South Korean actors, so the casting doesn't really mean anything to me. However, it was this press release about the casting that made me realize that this show was even a thing. So I'm going to use this press release to have a look at the details of the show without paying too much attention to the casting, because as I said, I don't know who any of them are. So the press release says that the show is going to center around the New Truth Church, and it's going to have extremist devotees, or they call them arrowheads. There's also going to be characters who work for TV stations, broadcasting companies that are investigating this new church, as well as police as well involved, so there might be a crime aspect into this as well. It does actually say something really interesting. The most interesting part of this whole press release I found is it says that a police detective investigates the unsettling appearance of the Death Angels. Now, from the name of the show Hellbound and the appearance of these Death Angels, it's actually making me really, really think that this is going to be supernatural. So it's not just going to be like a cult. It's actually going to have aspects in it that are supernatural and otherworldly. which makes a little bit of sense because it's being directed by Yoon Sang-ho, who's the director of Train to Busan, so expect good things. Just based on the premise, what I'm expecting is for there to be this cultish church with extremist devotees who, it appears to the world like they're talking nonsense, but maybe actually what they're preaching does come to pass with maybe devils or these dark angels, death angels coming from hell. It's called Hellbound after all. And that obviously means that the show will go to supernatural, unrealistic things. However, I think the show might start off sort of in this not quite sure if it's real, not quite sure if it's not, mystery type show. Which sounds great to me. Now, because this is actually just a press release about the casting, obviously that means that they haven't even shot it yet. So it's going to be a while till this one comes out. I can't find a release date, but I would expect this 2021 at some point. Last TV series we're going to look at is the new spin-off that's been announced of The Witcher. When I first saw this news, it was a bit strange thinking that they're going to do a spin-off of a show that's only had one season. Well, I suppose it was a massive hit, and I know that Netflix is trying to do more fantasy, like with Cursed, and I think they've got another few fantasy things coming out. So it makes sense to create a new fantasy show based on a property that was successful. So I'm actually pretty excited for this. I'm really new to YouTube, so you wouldn't have known my opinion on The Witcher unless you watched my Cursed review. But I really like The Witcher. I didn't really know what to expect going in. I've only ever started the Witcher 3 video game. I didn't finish it at all. That reminds me I must go back and do that. However, I just really like the show. I like the world they built. I like the creatures. I like the dark tone. I thought the characters had depth to them. I also really like the fighting style, especially Henry Cavill as the Witcher. His physicality was fantastic. I loved the fight scene at the end of the first episode. It was just, wow, one of the best sword fights I've ever seen in a show. So yeah, I really like the show. So I was interested to see that they're doing a spin-off already. And as you can imagine, a load of different news sites immediately reported about this. I'm going to focus on one article that I read that I liked, and it's by a website called Bustle. I'll put the link to this in the description if you want to read it yourself. So the article says that the show is going to be called The Witcher Blood Origin. Or maybe it's just going to be called Blood Origin. And Declan DeBarra has been named as the executive producer, showrunner of it. He actually wrote the first episode of The Witcher, and he was a producer on it as well. Now, he won't be working alone, because the showrunner of The Witcher, Lauren Schmidt-Histrich, will be serving as a co-executive producer alongside him. I'm sure they did this to ensure that the two series are consistent, as well as have the same feel. Also, the fact that the two shows are working so closely together makes me theorize that possibly we'll have some crossovers in storylines, like reveals and things. Maybe Geralt in The Witcher will reference things from the past in the Blood Origin spin-off, which is going to be a prequel set, I think, around 1,000 years before the Witcher series, in which it's going to follow the first Witcher. We also get a further clue about what it might be about when DeBarra said that he is a lifelong fan of fantasy, and that he's really looking forward to exploring the elven community before the cataclysmic arrival of the humans in the world of The Witcher. We've heard a lot about the elves in the first season, and it'll be great to actually see the community and what they had before it was all ruined when the humans came. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. It did seem a bit strange that they were doing a spin-off so quick, but you know what? I like The Witcher. I'm open to it. Alright, this brings us on to our last bit of news. It's a press release from Netflix that says they're going to adapt Tess Sharp's novel The Girls I've Been into a feature film. Now, I've never read this book, but I thought it was interesting because they've cast Millie Bobby Brown as the star. So you might remember her from Stranger Things. She was also in Godzilla. So up-and-coming actress, definitely. So I'd like to see what she's up to in this film. Another thing to note is that you can see from the screen there, it's going to be produced by Jason Bateman. So that sounds pretty cool to me. Now, in terms of what it's going to be about, as I say, I've not read the book, so I suppose I could go and read it and just tell you what's in it. I can't really be bothered doing that, so let's just read the logline. The Girls I've Been is a twisty, exhilarating thriller centered around a con artist, Nora, so that's obviously Millie Bobby Brown, who must use her powers of persuasion and impersonation to get herself, her girlfriend, and ex-boyfriend free during a hostage situation at a bank. Right. Anytime you're putting the word powers in there, that seems to me like there's going to be some sort of supernatural. I keep saying supernatural, but I really think there will be. You don't cast Millie Bobby Brown in a show unless she's got powers, am I right? So, I think maybe I could just go look it up, but I'm just going to go out on a limb. I might look like an idiot, but it's going to be about powers. Anyway, I'll keep my eye on this film in development. I'm interested in it. I did like Stranger Things. Obviously, it wasn't my favorite show of all time, but I did really like it. I thought it was very enjoyable. So I'd be interested to see where Millie Bobby Brown's going to go next. Funnily enough, I actually noticed on the press release they added in an extra detail. They wrote that Millie Bobby Brown is currently developing A Time Lost at Netflix. She is producing the film based on an original story that she wrote with her sister Paige Brown. Now this caught my attention. Obviously it's called A Time Lost. Straight away my head's going, time travel? Because as you know, I love time travel. Once I got over this initial thought about time travel, I actually Googled it. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know what the idea was that got a 15-year-old a producing role on an original show. It seems really strange. And not to be cynical, but my first initial thought was, oh, this is Netflix really trying to treat her well so that she stays and makes films with them. Because they must see her as a huge draw. Like because she was in Stranger Things, so she's going to make a lot of money for them, they must seem. And to keep her from going to other companies, they're giving her her own film that she can produce, and she wrote it with her sister. Really feels to me like they're just throwing her a bone so that she won't leave them. But that's my cynical head. Anyway, let's have a quick look at what this is about. I wasn't planning on doing this, but through the research I found this thing. An article on Variety described it as a film about a feud between two Long Island families that comes to a head when one of their teenage daughters is diagnosed with cancer. So, I'm hesitant to say anything critical of this because we know so little about it. And it is written by a 15-year-old who maybe Millie Bobby Brown and her sister have went through something in their life in terms of cancer and that inspired them to write this. But straight away to me, it is speaking of teen cancer film. You know, like that, was it Fault in Our Stars? It's even just the sound of the film makes it sound like it's going to be something similar to that. Now, obviously we have no idea and I'm being very cynical, so we'll wait and see. But it's worth mentioning it anyway, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, so that's the news this week. I'm not going to be doing a news video every week, as I said. Sometimes I do reviews, sometimes I do dark theories, sometimes I do why you should watch a certain show. But this week I wanted to do a bit of news. So it's something I'm going to start bringing back a bit more frequently. I like to keep up to date with what's coming out. I'm sure you do too. This one was very much geared towards Netflix because I read a lot of Netflix press releases. It won't always be that way, but it was this time. Anyway, if you liked the video and you want to hear more TV and film analysis from me or hear the news from me, subscribe. I release a new video every Thursday as well as bonus videos every now and then. I also have a podcast every Monday that I do with my friend Konrad. He's watching Dark for the first time. It's hilarious. Check it out. Apart from that, thanks for watching and I'll catch you later.